All right, everybody, welcome to Talking The Last of Us, Episode 1, where each and every week I'm going to give you my thoughts, review, basically discuss this week's episode. But before we get started, do me a favor, hit that like button, and make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any more content like this. All right, let's get started. First off, before I get into the show, let me tell you that the HBO Max app is trash. It always hangs up whenever we go to start something on my TV, and like the closed captions and the voices don't ever sync up. Then you got to quit out and restart it. So that started the episode off with a bang. So I was a little bit behind, but basically it's pretty cool. The show starts off talking about like pandemics that can happen, flu viruses, and it's very like it hits home after 2020 very much. And one of the guys on the talk show that looks like it takes place in the 70s or 80s, because there's smoking obviously on the show. So he talks about a fungus that's what we really should be worried about. This fungus that lives inside, that you know it kills bugs. Basically, it kills bugs, and it potentially could hop onto humans as a host. But I guess it would need the Earth to warm up a considerable amount for this to actually work. Which, okay, yeah, I guess global warming from the 70s to early 2000s. I guess that's basically what happened. So we get that, and then it jumps right into Joel's birthday, basically. Basically, the opening scene is basically it's very similar to the game. You get it's his birthday. His daughter Sarah's making pancakes for him. Tommy comes in. He's gonna go to work and come back or at nighttime for Joel's birthday. Before I get into that, let me talk about the intro. The intro. Oh man, the intro is really cool. It reminds me of Game of Thrones. You've got like the fungus, like charting a path basically, and then it starts spreading everywhere until it becomes this big fungi. So yeah, that was really cool. I did like that. Yeah, it starts off in 2003. Joel's 36. Let's see. Yeah, she's funny how she he leaves and she goes and she like takes his watch, which was in the game too. She takes his watch. She's gonna get his watch fixed for his birthday. Then she steals the money out of his drawer to fix his own watch. So that was pretty cool. She's in a watch shop. She sees like sirens and cop cars and everything going by. The watchmakers, say we're closing up the shop early. It's very ominous. Like, what the hell? What's going on? What's going on? And so she gets out of there. She heads home. She goes to the neighbors afterwards. And there's like the neighbor is like an older family, and there's a really old like grandmother, I guess, like in a wheelchair, and you see her like. And then she stops, and it's like, ooh, okay, all right. Then you kind of foreshadow, like, okay, that's going to be something here, the next scene or whatever. And sure enough, it was. But the dog's like sitting there looking at her. It's pretty cool. And then you get back to where Joel, he comes back at night. He says he's going to be back around 9. He gets back around 10 for their birthday. They start watching a movie, or she gives him the watch. And then they start watching a movie. She falls asleep like in the game. And you get a call from Tommy. He's in jail for a bar fight. And it really does sound like Tommy from the game. I don't know if they're the same actors, but it sounded very much like him over the phone. So Joel goes, gets him out of jail. It's funny. In the game, like she wakes up and they're in the house and Joel comes back in the house. But in this, she wakes up, Joel's not home. She heads to the neighbor's house, and you kind of know what's going to happen. She walks in, she sees the two dead neighbors, and like the grandma's like over them eating the one, and they come running out, and the grandma's chasing Sarah, and pull up Joel and Tommy, and Joel's got a pipe wrench. He's ready to just whack her head off. And Tommy's, what do we do? What do you do? And Joel whacks her dead. And, Sarah's all upset, like, you killed her. And he's like, yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do. So, they take off and they're like, we got to get out of there. They take off and you see whose house is it? Let's see. Jimmy's place. Jimmy's place is on fire. That's a pretty cool scene. You see the whole, like, it's a really big house, like, just blazing on fire. Then they pass a family on the road, and that's like that is straight out of the game where Joel or Tommy's gonna stop, and Joel's like, "Oh, you keep going," and he's, "They got a kid." He's like, "Yeah, so do we. So keep going." And those exact lines are, straight from the game, which is it's pretty neat. They have a lot of stuff. Obviously it's not going to be exactly like the game, but there are some lines that are directly from the game, which is pretty cool. As a fan, you can see that. And so then they take the detour through the streets. You see, they head to the city, and they got to take a whole bunch of detours all over. Very similar to what the game is, and you see the planes flying over. Like, those are like passenger planes, and they look very close to each other. Like, okay, that's not normal to have passenger planes that close. And let's see. So what happens in the game? Obviously, they get hit by another car, and that's what stops them. But in the show, when the passenger planes crashes and like some flying debris goes through the car and knocks the car over, and that's when they wake up, and you can see she's separated, or she's hurt and she can't walk, so Joel gets her out, and then another police car crashes into the back of him. That's where Tommy and Joel get separated. A little different from the game. He's got to carry Sarah out, and they go through some alleys, and they're getting chased by like an infected person through a diner. That's a really cool scene. They get outside the diner, and then there's the what would you call him, the military guy or the army guy or whatever, and stops them. And he gets on the radio, and what I noticed there is, in the game, he gets on the radio and says, "Okay, we got a man and his daughter here," and you could tell that he gets the order to shoot him or kill him. And in the game, he actually like questions it, but in the show, there was really no questions. Like, "Oh, okay," and then shoots him. Obviously, he kills Sarah, and he's about ready to kill Joel, and then Tommy shoots him and kills the military guy. And that moment, when you first play the game, that's a really impactful moment. But for me, I mean, I don't know, I guess I know the story, so it wasn't as impactful. I mean, it was a good scene. They did a good job. It just wasn't as impactful when you're playing the game. It really hit you hard. So that's basically the opening right there. And then, it shoots to 20 years later in the Boston QZ, the Boston quarantine zone. Really nice scene where not nice, but you see Boston. It just looks bombed all to hell, basically, just like a war zone. They do, which I don't think you see in the game. They show a little bite chart for how long it takes to get someone infected. The neck, face, head, 5 to 15 minutes. Torso, arm, shoulder, hand, 2 to 8 hours. Leg and your leg and foot, 12 to 24 hours. And that's because they kind of explain in the game that the fungus affects your brain. So obviously, if the lower you're bit, the longer it's going to take. It's got to rise to get to your brain, and then that's where it starts infecting you. So then we get to old gray Joel. He looks weathered. He looks like he's changed. He grabs like a kid's body and throws it in the fire. Like, you can tell that he's been, that event in the past 20 years has changed him. Let's see. Oh yeah, they show like 3 people like being hung for leaving the quarantine zone. Like, yeah, they don't mess around. You can totally tell. Joel, it's funny. Joel becomes like an oxy dealer. He's dealing to like a guard or something, and then cut to that. And here we get a little bit of a difference from the game to the show. We see Robert and Tess. Tess was beat up by some of Robert's guys, and you could tell Robert's like scared of Joel because he doesn't want to let Tess go because he's afraid that she's gonna tell Joel and he's gonna come in like do bad things to Robert. So she basically tells me, I'll lie to him. I won't say anything to him, so he won't come back. And come back and get you. So that's a little bit different from the game. I think Tess does a pretty good job. She's a very strong character. She does a really good job in here. And then we cut to a bomb going off while Tess is basically being held by Robert and his guys. And I thought Robert died, but I guess he doesn't die there. There's a bomb that goes off from a Firefly attack. She gets out. She gets captured by Fedra. And then we cut to Ellie, who's calling herself Veronica, played by Bella Ramsey. It was a very funny scene. She's very foul. It's funny. She starts swearing at everybody, which you can. Let me go back here. I'm in the middle of replaying The Last of Us Part 1, so I'm getting closer to the end where Ellie is less foul, and so I kind of forgot how in the beginning of the game she is really like a foul-mouthed girl. So it is funny, but yeah, I one of the things I was really concerned about was when they casted Bella Ramsey to play Ellie. I'm like, oh, I really don't see her as an Ellie. I mean, obviously she does look like what Ellie looks like in the game, but so far in this first episode, she nails it. So the Fireflies have her chained up basically, and you can basically tell they think to come in and they're like question her what her name is and tell her to count. So like you can tell that they're like testing her to see like, okay, is she suffering any symptoms of the infection? So that's basically what they're doing with her. She passes it. So yeah, she's chained up. So yeah, then we get cut to I think Joel's at like questioning somebody at a radio tower. I guess Tommy's been gone for 3 weeks, which is a little bit different. Well, it's implied from the game that like Joel and Tommy, like they lost contact. They didn't talk to each other. I don't think in the game it goes over like how long Tommy's been gone. But I mean, he's been gone for 3 weeks and it still seems like Joel is like kind of like looking for him. So that's a little bit of a deviation there. Tommy went to a tower in Wyoming, which I believe that's where he's at in the game. Yeah, I think so. So he's looking. Joel needs a battery to get to Tommy. That's basically what him and Marlene were trading with Robert, which in the game they're trading guns. So that's a little bit different. That's different there. That's where the deal goes wrong. So, okay. Then we cue to the Fireflies. Marlene comes in. The Fireflies are taking. This is like their last night that they're going to be in the Boston QZ because now that they've basically discovered that Ellie is immune, they've got to get her out west to where the Fireflies like are. Their office is basically not office, but where the Fireflies have like doctors and scientists or whatever. So then Marlene comes in. She's talking to Ellie and. Marlene knows Ellie. Ellie doesn't know that Marlene knows her, but she explains that she's the one she put her in a military school, and she knows, her name's Ellie, not Veronica. Then we cut to Joel and Tess. They're on the way to find Robert. They're gonna mess him up for the stuff that he did. They need to get their battery so they can get out of here and find Tommy. So they go into the sewers. You see like a fully infected like person. Totally fungus plastered against the wall, almost looking like Han Solo and Carbonite, basically. All the way, like, the fungus grew into the wall. It's a really cool scene. Let's see. And then they hit, which looks like... I think it's got to be the Fireflies hideout because Ellie's there. So they get into a building, which is probably the Fireflies hideout. It looks like Robert was going to trade the battery to Marlene and the Fireflies, and obviously the deal went wrong. There was bullets flying, and Robert's dead, which is different in the game. Robert is killed by Joel and Tess. In this game, he's killed by Marlene and the Fireflies. Marlene's shot. She can't go really anywhere. There's another Firefly that's helping Marlene, and that's where Joel and Tess agree to take Ellie to the other Fireflies in exchange for a ride, basically, which is going to be a Fedra ride, which is going to be better than the piece of junk that they were going to get. So, I mean, it works out for them. It's a good deal. Ellie attacks Joel. Blah, blah, blah. They have this powwow. They start talking, and okay, they're next is they're gonna go. They're gonna go basically take Ellie to where Marlene was gonna take him. Joel's pissed. He doesn't like Marlene because he believes Marlene turned Tommy against Joel. And then we cue to in the scene in the game, basically where Joel's taking a nap on a couch. They're waiting for Tess to get back. This is where the game Tess goes with Marlene to. Marlene wants to see the guns that Tommy sold her, but in the show, I don't know where exactly Tess went to in the show, but anyways, Joel's napping on the couch, Ellie's in the room, and that's another scene they have directly from the game. Like the dialogue is basically the same. There's a radio in there that it's basically their smuggling radio, and if they play a song from the 70s, it means something. If they play a song from the 60s, it means something. And if they play a song from the 80s, I guess it means trouble. So we'll save that for a minute. Let's see. Then they start. Tess comes back, and they're getting ready to start. They're headed underground, like a tunnel to escape, like I guess outside of the quarantine zone wall. Or they get caught by the guard that Joel is selling oxy to. They try to bargain with him, blah, blah, blah. He's not having any of it, so he goes. They've got like a little device that they stick on their neck, getting ready to test the people out to see if they're infected or not. And they test, both Joel and Tess, and that's negative. And they get ready to. He's testing Ellie, and then just when that happens, I think Ellie attacks him and stabs him with the knife, and Joel, or the guard, shines the light, and Joel has this flashback of like the light from the military guy shining it on him and Sarah and getting ready to kill Sarah, and he just snaps and like beats the guard to death. And that's when Tess pulls up the tester and sees that Ellie is actually infected, and that's when she explains to them like, "Look, I've been bitten." I think she said I think it's 3 weeks ago or whatever. And look, I'm not turned. That's why I am so important. So that's when let's see, they kill the guard, and they're out. They start taking off, and they are heading in deeper into the city, and that's basically the end of the episode. Some 80s music comes on the cuts back to I think Joel and Tess's room where they've got the little radio, and the 80s music comes on, I guess meaning trouble. So I'm guessing that's like a sign from Tommy, or like a signal from Tommy that he's run into trouble. And then that's when you see like the backdrop of like the city, and you see the clicker, and you hear the clicker noise. I can't really make it, but that's basically the end. So yeah, awesome episode. I'm super excited. Gonna watch it again tomorrow. Really like the cast. Really, the cast is really good. Tess, Joel is good. I think Bella is so. I mean, she's got a smaller role, but I think she stood out really for me as the star of the best. Which was funny because I had the most questions about her casting. The show does move very fast, so you're used to playing the game, and that whole basically first episode is quite a few hours basically. I mean, you got gameplay in it. It's almost like you're reading a book and then you see a movie, and the book, there's so much more detail in the book that you don't get in the movie. That's kind of what I feel like in here, is you get a lot more detail in the game that you're not getting in the TV show. But it was very good, and it looks like what I was wondering. They showed the previews afterwards, and it looks like this first season's going to cover the whole game basically. I mean, I don't know exactly where it's going to end, if it's going to end on a cliffhanger at the end of the game or what, but it looks like you're seeing scenes from basically almost the whole game. So that's pretty cool. I don't know if this has got renewed for a second season or if it's just going to be a one-off or what, but yeah, so far, excellent. Yeah, totally, 9 out of 10 for the first episode. So, all right, well, that's going to be it for Talking The Last of Us Episode 1. One more time, do me a favor, hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss another episode. Looks like probably Mondays is when these episodes are going to go live. So, yep, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any more of these. And I will see you next time.